ETS2 has never really had a content problem. For over a decade, the cycle was predictable. A new map DLC drops, maybe a new truck. Tuning, cargo, trailer packs get added frequently, and every now and then, the game's engine gets a polish. But lately, there's been this feeling, this realization that no matter how far east or north they push the borders, maps alone just won't cut it anymore. Don't get me wrong, the quality is incredible. What SCS has done with the Greece DLC and Nordic Horizons is honestly some of their best work yet. It's enough to make everyone hyped for the UK rework, Ireland and Iceland. But the truth is, ETS2 has outgrown itself. It's no longer just a niche sim, it's a platform that millions of people treat as their primary gaming home. So last summer, when SCS finally announced the project coaches, I didn't want to just fire off a quick reaction video. I wanted to sit back for a bit. I wanted to dig into the reasoning behind the move. Because to really understand what project coaches means for the future of ETS2, you have to answer 3 specific questions. Why ETS2? Why coaches? And maybe most importantly, why now? Now, before we dive into the philosophy of these questions, we should probably clear up what this project is. Project Coaches is an expansion built into ETS2. You'll get to drive the same world they spent 13 years building, but this time you'll have the option to do it in a coach and not a truck. We are talking long-distance coach travel, scheduled routes and terminals with multiple intercity stops. SCS Software has made it very clear that they are not looking to compete with the hardcore bus sims that focus on every single button in the cockpit, or dive deeper into the economics linked to running a bus route like selling tickets, simulate interactions with the passengers. No. Instead, they're going to focus on what they do best, that feeling of the long haul that everybody is feeling when driving a truck. You can notice this in how they built it. They didn't start with the vehicles, they started with the world. They've been quietly going back to the old bus stations across Europe, standardizing them and building new terminals that actually make sense for a 40-foot coach. I'm very happy to announce that you don't have to worry about driving an empty coach. The project will start with a pretty basic passenger satisfaction system. I believe this is a good middle ground that makes your trips feel meaningful and offers a small reward for driving them in a specific way. Everything from how smooth your braking is, how sharp you take your corners, timing, it will mean something. It's a subtle shift from worrying about damaging the cargo you carry with your truck to doing the best you can to keep your passengers happy. SCS basically had 2 choices, 2 playgrounds to choose from, Europe or America. And when you look at the culture, the choice becomes obvious. Bus simulation has always had a much stronger presence in Europe than anywhere else. And it really has to do with real-life habits. It's how students get home from school, it's how workers get home from work, and it's how tourists get around. Public transport is part of everyday life here, and over the years, that created an audience and multiple games that meant to simulate it. As a small comparison, in the US, American Truck Simulator leans into a totally different vibe. The car culture dominates the transportation there. For people to get everywhere, they have to drive. They start doing it at a very early age, like 16. Defining these 2 cultures make it very easy for us to understand SCS's choice. And that's why ATS is getting the road trip mode, while ETS2 is getting project coaches. But beyond just geography, ETS2 fills a massive gap in the market. If you look at the current landscape of bus simulators, it's pretty messy. Some of them have great systems, but they look like they were made in 2010, and graphics quality does matter. Some of them look beautiful, but run like a slideshow, and the performance is abysmal. Some have great local routes, but you get bored fast after 3 or 4 hours because the map is just too small. On the other hand, ETS2 doesn't need to try to be the best in any of those categories. Instead, it's the ultimate all-rounder. The world is already massive and continuous, the driving model is already refined over the 12 years we've been playing this, it's stable, it looks good, and it works. By bringing coaches into ETS2, SCS is offering a package that frankly most dedicated bus sims can't compete with, simply because the foundation of ETS2 is rock solid. It would also be a shame not to talk about this, because the demand for this has been huge in the ETS2 community. The players have always asked for buses or coaches to be added, and I guess they were always wondering if this world could accommodate more than just trucks. And naturally, coaches were the logical answer here, because they share the same DNA as trucks. They pretty much use the same infrastructure, but they add a layer of responsibility that freight doesn't have. A trailer doesn't complain if you hit a curb at 40 miles an hour, but a bus full of passengers definitely will. So to also answer some of your concerns, Project Coaches isn't trying to force bus driving on anyone. It's responding to a gap in the industry. Right now, there isn't a definitive long-distance bus simulator. SCS realized that, and they were already sitting on 90% of the work required to make one. For the exclusive truck fans, this doesn't take anything away. If anything, with the way the map is evolving to make room for these new vehicles, it makes the world around you even more immersive. But for people who have been looking for a reason to come back to ETS2, or for the bus fans who are tired of buggy localized sims, this is a win-win move. It broadens the audience without tearing down the core fanbase. So maybe for the most important question, you might be wondering, why now? At first, I thought it might be due to the competition rising in the sim space. Titles like Road Kings by Saber Interactive or Truck World Australia may be pushing SCS to expand and stay competitive, but that was a while ago. If you ask me today, after getting a better understanding of this world, being in this YouTube space and having the chance to talk to a lot more people, get more feedback from you guys who are following the channel, I would say it's because ETS2 has finally reached a moment that very few games ever reach. ETS2 reached a rare level of legacy status. It doesn't need to change trends anymore. It doesn't need to fight for its life every month to stay competitive or relevant. SCS has built an incredible amount of trust with us, the players, and we know they aren't going to ditch the game next year for another sequel. And for a long time, map DLCs were the main revenue stream. They gave the game momentum, but eventually you will run out of land. And yes, I am fully aware of the latest mentions of expanding further into Asia, slowly penetrating the European borders. But even if that's the case, no matter how pretty the scenery is in Greece, Ireland, or the countries they're about to explore, you're still doing the same loop. You pick up a trailer, you drive, you drop off the trailer. If ETS2 is going to survive another 10 years, it can't just grow outward. It has to grow inward as well. The gameplay could use some polish, and it needs new ways to interact with the world we already have. In my very simple mind, Project Coaches is SCS acknowledging the fact that they understand this. The world they built can be used for more than just trucking, while still keeping trucking at its core. The fact that they're adding a new pillar to the game's foundation because they finally have the stability and community trust to pull it off, I think it's a move made from a position of absolute strength. And at last, allow me to be bold. I dare to say that with Project Coaches, road trip mode for ATS, and the console release planned, we could in fact double our player base soon. For any other company, you could say this only means bigger profits. But without being cheesy, I think for SCS it means more financial stability to keep this dream alive. I am curious on how you guys feel about this. What do you think this will do for the game's future? Feel free to agree or disagree in the comments. I try my best to reply to each one. And as always, until the next time, stay safe on the road and keep on trucking. Cheers.